Hey everyone, my name is Eric Chow. I'm a counselor here at Oxford College. Just a little bit about myself. I've also had experience as a career counselor. So I worked as a career counselor at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo before this. And I've also worked as a career counselor at Colorado State University. But I'm most happy about being here, being a counselor at Oxford College. Before I get started, can I go around the room and I just want to know, what brought you to the presentation? So let me know your name and what brought you here today. So anybody would like to get started?
My name is Bobby, and I'm part of the Omega, but I also wanted to get help in creating my resume.
Bobby, Omega, good program.
Yeah.
Julius,
Yeah.
I like him. Doesn't like me as much, but.
Well,
Anybody else? Just want to know.
Hi Bobby, I'm in Omega. My name is Brian.
Brian.
I chose this workshop because I do plan on applying for like internships over the summer and having a resume would be helpful.
Cool. Thanks, Bobby.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I too plan to do some internships in the summer, so I have resume experience.
Cool. So a couple of you, are you also in the Omega program?
No.
Okay, of course not. You're a female. Where's my brain at? Okay, got it.
My name is Emmanuel, and I'm also in the Omega program. And well, writing a resume, I don't really have much experience on that. And that's really something that I'm gonna need in the future, definitely. So I'm really interested in going to the campus.
Emmanuel, okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
My name's Eddie. I heard about this my last class. So listed they're gonna have this. And I already have a resume, but I think it could be a little better. So I just got it.
I have a resume and I feel mine's could be a little bit better too. So
Yeah.
It's always a work in progress. I agree. I like that approach. What's your name?
Eddie?
Eddie? Okay.
My name is Peter, and the reason why I'm here is because resumes are different now. They're more database driven, and so I'd like to know how to complete that knowledge so that when databases are looking for your resume, that I want to be able to compete.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I'll make sure I share about that too.
Because you have to have like skill sets on the first part, soft skills. I know about hard skills, soft skills, but I'd like to get a little more into that. You can share that.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get started on the resume presentation. So this is a resume workshop. So what is the purpose of a resume, first of all? What do you guys think is the purpose? Like, why do a resume? Let's talk about that first. Why do you do a resume? To show your strengths. What else is out there? There's no wrong or right answer. What do you guys think? Why do you do a resume?
Sometimes to work experience.
Summarize your work experience. Okay. Anything else? Show your strengths. Summarize your work experience.
To show what skills that you can apply to the field.
To show what skills you can apply, like your strengths, what skills you can apply to the field. Okay. Anything else?
Well, it's like a dating site. To answer this question that they're looking for, is hopefully something will match with your employer and your needs, and so that then the part of you think resume needs to be the one thing you need. That's just the key to begin the process.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, first impression matters. That's your first impression of you. Your resume is your first impression. The employer's first impression of you. Speaking off of that topic, let me ask this question. When an employer looks at your resume, how long do they look it for?
First
8 more than 30 seconds.
8 more than 30 seconds, yeah. It's anywhere from 0 to 30 seconds. So they're making a quick first impression of you too. So it's really important that today we talk about your resume layout, because that's key here. But to go back to the original question, the purpose of the resume, I think this is really important that you get this, that the purpose of the resume is to obtain an interview. More than anything else, a good resume versus a bad resume or versus any resume, you know when your resume works when you get a phone call for a job interview. That's when you know it works. Is when you get, so the resume doesn't get you the job, but it does get you the job interview. And that's the purpose of it. And that has significant ramifications. So if you think, your resume's purpose is to get the job interview, not the job, your resume has to be a compelling statement to ensure or to entice the employer to call you, right? Because there's a lot of distractions, right? Right now you're listening to me and you're very distracted right now because food's coming in. You're thinking about that and not the presentation. The same thing too. When you submit a resume online or in person, when an employer sees it, they might have other thoughts in their mind. You have to make sure that you draw their attention right off the bat, right? So the purpose is to get a job interview. The other purpose is to summarize your qualifications and skills for the job. How do you know what qualifications and skills you should summarize? Do you talk about what a great basketball player you are if you're applying for a job that has no basketball skills related?
What's relevant to the position you're applying for?
Yeah, it's so key. So you should summarize the qualifications and skills that are most relevant to the job that you're applying for. If you don't hear anything else from me today, if you get that is, I'm happy that you walk out with that. I've been on the other side of hiring people, and at the end of the day, I want to interview people that are qualified for the job, right? I don't know anything about you other than whether you meet the qualifications or not. And that's why it's really important that you discuss that in your resume. You want to talk about the qualification skills that are most needed for the job, most relevant for the job. But how do you know which ones are most relevant for the job?
You look on the website for the job you're looking for and see what they are asking for and using their words, right?
Yeah, exactly. So every job that you apply for should have a job description. Every job you apply for should have a job description. And so if you're going on Monster.com or Indeed, any of those popular job search sites, there's always a long description of what the job should be. So that's to give you a clue of what you should put down for your qualifications and skills, right? If they want somebody with great communication skills, you want to put that, right? If they want somebody with great analytical skills, you want to make sure you put that on your resume, right? So you want to read the job description. It's a marketing tool. So dating is kind of like marketing too. You want to market yourself to the person. So you want to read about the person first, right? Read about the company, the job description, and make sure that you are presenting yourself with the ability to solve their needs by showing your qualifications and skills, right? I once read from employers that says, when I look at a resume, one of my advice when you apply for a job is that 80% of what you put down in your resume should be on the job description. So those keywords on the job description, 80% of it should be on your resume, right? So if I'm using keywords, like if I'm using, if I'm using creative problem solving, if I'm using marketing, if I'm using finance, if I'm using those words when I write the job description, make sure that you put those words down on your resume, right? Question back here?
So what you have to, so when you said 8% should be on the job description, would that mean you would have to make like an entire new resume every time you apply for a job?
Yeah, that's such a good statement, right? So the question that was asked is, I think what you're alluding to, this is a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work to make sure your resume fits the job description. So should you do a new resume for every job you apply for? And the answer is yes, because if the person next to you is doing it and you're not, what's going to happen? Who's going to get the interview? The person next to you, right? Right? It's a very competitive job market, so if you're not going to put in the extra work, someone else does, and they're going to get the interview ahead of you. So make sure that you put in the extra time for it. There's a saying out there that looking for a job is like a full-time job in itself, right? So that's an indication why. Any questions so far? So you got the deal of it down, the purpose of the resume. Here are some key parts to the resume. I'm not going to go through it right now because I'm going to go through it in detail as we go on. But these are key aspects to the resume. Your name and contact information, which is the top part of your resume. Your objective, the purpose of your resume. Your education, your experience. The key is the education and experience. Those are the heart of your resume. Any projects that you've done. What do you guys think I mean by projects? What comes to your mind when I say projects? Projects for school, yeah. So if you've done projects in school, treat it like an experience that's valued by employers, right? Many of you guys don't have a lot of experience, that's why you're in school, but your projects can really talk about your experience. So if you've done any class projects that really shows teamwork, skills, anything that you worked as a group with, like include that in your resume. Other sections could be skills, leadership, involvement, awards. So all of those different parts of your resume. All right, guys, what do you think, what did I say are the two most important parts of your resume? What's the experience? Yeah, the education experience is the heart of their resume. It's what employers gravitate towards when they're deciding who to interview. So here's just some guidelines for writing resumes. Resumes are subjective, fill true rules, all right? What does that mean? It means that you could have 5 people look at a resume and have 5 different opinions of your resume, right? Does that make sense, right? So it's not like an absolute truth, you have to do it a certain way. But no matter what though, you have to speak to the needs of the employer that you're writing to, right? But it is subjective, but I want to give you at least some guidelines to think about, right? You must tell the truth in your resume. You also want to put the information that is most important on the top of your resume, right? You shouldn't put it towards the bottom of your resume. It shouldn't be hidden. The most important part is towards the upper middle part of the resume, because that's what they notice first on your resume. So make sure you prioritize the information. Because as I said earlier, employers don't have the time to look at your resume for 5 minutes, right? They look at it for 30 seconds. So if you don't put the most important information up top, they may not see that information, right? One metaphor that I want you to think about is, if I was an employer and I had, and I started seeing your resumes, there's a yes file and then there's a no file, right? How do I get my file to the yes file, right? So that's a key part, the heart of what we're talking about today. There's not like an absolute answer to that, but if you could market your resume to the job description, you have a better chance of getting to the yes pile. Any questions on this slide? As I said earlier, match your skills and qualifications to their requirements and keywords. And then it also says you should critique your resume as if you were the employer. What would you want to see, right? So a lot of times you write a resume based on what you think, but try to put yourself in the shoes of the employer, right, when you write the resume. If I was on the other side, what is it that I want to see, right? What is important for me as an employer? And so this is where you need to put in the time and understand the company, right? Read about the company, the mission of the company. Think about how do you help them, right? Not how the job's going to help you, but how will you benefit the company, right? So really think about it from the employer's perspective. Questions? This one. So what does a resume look like? So I'm going to go piece by piece with that because you probably can't even see the resume up there. So I'm going to go piece by piece. So the very first part of your resume, and I'm going to take a moment to pause. Did everybody get the handouts that I put down here? Did everybody get it? Okay, so make sure you come up and get it because I want to go over a few things with you with this. So make sure you get this. All right. So does everybody have the sample resume template? Right? Okay, everybody looking at that? Okay. Make sure everybody grabs a copy first. All right, so the very first thing is you want to emphasize your name on your resume. What does it mean to emphasize your name? What do you guys think? What does that mean when I say emphasize your name? Does it mean you put it in big blocks? What does it mean when I say emphasize your name? Put it in bold. Put it in bold, yeah. Put it in bold, center it. Don't put your name as a very small font, but bolding it is what I would recommend to bold your name. I don't recommend to make your font bigger for your name. How come? How come you don't think I recommend you make your name a bigger font than your other text size? Why not?
Take up space.
It takes up space, and what might that imply to an employer if your name is way bigger than any other fonts in your resume?
Protection?
Huh?
Your protection?
It could imply lots of things, right? That you don't want to imply. Like you want to make your name stand out, but you don't want to make it such big that employers thinking, wow, this person thinks a lot about themselves, right? It could, right? So I would emphasize the name by bolding it, but not doing that much more. Use a local address if reliable. So you could put your mailing address there, but I'll talk in a second about some alternatives with that. You want to put your phone number on your contact information. Use a cell phone number if you have a professional voicemail greeting. So if I would call you, guys and gals, if I would call you right now, what would be my first impression of you? Would it be a good voice message if you don't pick up the phone? Some nods, okay. Yeah, if you're not sure, double check your message, because that's important, right? Because if I do call you for an interview, I want to have a good first impression of you, right? So make sure you have a professional greeting. You know, say your name, say I can't get your phone right now, but if you leave the name and message. I know it's not exciting, but make sure you have a professional voicemail greeting, right? You don't want to have hip-hop music blasting in the background. Not that I have anything against hip-hop music, but is that your first impression, right? If you're looking for a job. So double check your voice message and your phone number. Provide appropriate email addresses. I can't stress this enough. Make sure you have a professional email address and that you check on a daily basis. So guys, what makes a professional email address? What's an example? Give me an example of a professional email address. There's a lot of examples of not professional ones, like Lazy Boy Ball. That's not professional. What's a professional email address?
Like naming or just like in general?
Yeah, what, give me an example of what's
Like
a
I
professional.
had one for like stuff where he was like signing for like games and stuff, and I had another one for like school and business stuff that we use.
Okay, so what's an example of one?
Like, what is your name and like, maybe qualified number?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly, so try to have your name on your email address, right? So my name is Eric Chow, so it'd be ideal to have ericchow@gmail.com, right? That would be ideal. Now, if you have an employer email address, should you use that one? Like mine is at eccccb.edu. Should I use that one or should I use Gmail? Yeah, you should use Gmail if you can, because you don't want to imply using your work address, because it implies that you're like thinking about looking for another job, and it doesn't look good professionally on you. It's better to use Gmail, Yahoo, one of those, right? Does that make sense? So, any questions about that email address?
With the BCCCD?
That's good for you guys, yeah. For me, it wouldn't be as good because I work here. But yeah, if you're a student here, absolutely. Font size, 10 to 12 font size. So it's important that your font size is consistent. So you don't want to have font size that's 14, some that are 12, some that are 11. Make sure you choose a font size and you stick with it, right? So Times New Roman or Arial, use those font size. Use conservative fonts, not something like Tahoma or something, right? Keep a consistent font size there. A couple things that I would recommend here if you have it. Does anybody here in the room have a LinkedIn address? A LinkedIn professional? Okay.
I do actually.
You do?
I mean, I don't really do that much on there.
I know. I should do a whole presentation on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is a huge professional networking website that a lot of employers are using to learn more information about you besides your resume. So if you have a LinkedIn account with a URL, you should include your LinkedIn contact information on your resume header instead of your address, if you ask me. So instead of putting your mailing address, which does you no good, it doesn't help me hire you anymore if you live in Costa Mesa versus Oxnard. But if your LinkedIn address shows a lot of, a good professional image of you, then I would create a LinkedIn account, make a really nice one, and include that on your resume, because that stands out. And employers, trust me, on the other side, they all know a lot about LinkedIn, so I would use that as a good resource instead of your address. So that's the only thing that I would recommend that I haven't talked about. Any questions about that?
What is that?
So LinkedIn is one of the top 10 most used websites around the world. What LinkedIn does is it basically, think of it as your online professional presence. It's like your online resume that if I Google, what's your name again?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Brian, like if I Google Brian, your last name, I would get your LinkedIn account and I would be able to see a professional resume background about you. So it's like your online professional presence to the world, which a lot of employers want to see, about you in addition to your resume. Yeah. And when you see it, I don't want to go too much into LinkedIn, but it's really cool because you can talk about your projects, your skills. People can endorse you for your skills. You can join a network. It's a great resource. So I recommend creating a LinkedIn profile to make you stand out. One of the main aspects of the resume, if you look at the sample one, is objective. You guys all see that, an objective statement? Right, so the top part. So an objective is an optional, and I'm going to emphasize again, optional part of your resume. You don't need to have it, but if you do have an objective, it's the top part of your resume. It's the first header, the first main header of your resume. All right. So what is an objective? An objective tells the employer the purpose of your resume. Right. It tells the employer, this is the purpose of my resume. Why do you think it's good to have an objective?
Shows that you have direction in life.
It shows you have direction in life, yeah. What else? Why else do you think it would be good to have an objective?
Because then you know what you want.
It shows that you know what you want, yeah. The good thing about having an objective, here's an example of one. So think of it this way, an objective should tell the employer the job that you're applying for, and who you want to work for, and the skills you could offer, those 3 things. So an objective, so think about it in 3 pieces. An objective does 3 things. It should tell the employer what specific job you're applying for. That's one key piece. The second key piece is what company you want to work for. And the third key piece is what skills you could offer. So here's an example. An accounting internship for XYZ company utilizing skills in QuickBooks, mathematics, and leadership skills. You see how that gives a sense of direction there? So you say the position you're applying for, who you want to work for, and the skills that you could offer, right? Does that make sense there? The other thing, by you doing the objective, the other thing that you're doing for the employer is you're letting them know that you're not sending out a generic resume. You're tailoring it to the job you're applying for. Because you're putting the company's name, you're putting the skills that you could offer already, and you're saying the job that you're applying for. So it is optional, but if you do want to have one, do that. So here's an example that's right up here. So this is an objective example. Here's one that I don't recommend. You could say something like, I want a job with a company who will value me and allow me to grow and gain experience. What do you guys think about that one? It's not very good to me because it's very generic, right? It's very generic. I feel like you could set that same objective for every job you apply for. Copy and paste it, right? And this isn't really about you. This allows me to grow and gain experience. Like, if I was an employer, who cares? Who cares that you want to grow and gain experience? We know that. But how am I going to make a decision on interviewing you just because just based on that information alone, right? The other thing that this objective does that I don't want you to do on your resume is you don't want to put personal pronouns on your resume. So no personal pronouns. No, like I want, me, I, any of those things. You want to steer clear from your resume. So no personal pronouns at all. So here's an example of one that could be a little stronger. So you're saying seeking an engineering position. So let the person know what you want. With A and B for the company that you want to work for, where I can utilize my ability to analyze, interpret, and evaluate data, conduct research, prepare and write reports, right? Now, for you guys sitting in the audience, those skills that you just read could be pretty boring to you in the audience, but if you were the employer who had the pressure of finding someone with those skills, it would be like bing, 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 that's what I'm looking for, right? So again, back to earlier about tailoring yourself to a position, make sure you put down the skills that the employer wants, that needs, right? Not just any skills. Any questions about this? All right, you're doing good. So objectives, so notice the next part of the resume on the handout that I gave you is summary of qualifications. Summary of qualifications, you guys see that? Could you pass this back to the young lady in black? So summary of qualifications, it's not very usual to have this on your resume. It's not something that I see often in resumes at all. But if you are going to have one, it's got to be a summary of your qualifications, really with concrete skills. Meaning, you don't want to say, hard worker and conscientious person for a summary of qualifications. That does no good. Anybody can say they're a hard worker and conscientious, right? But your summary, but if you're going to have a summary of qualifications, make sure it's something concrete. Like for instance, fluent in Spanish, very concrete skill, right? Right? Does that make sense? 2 years of experience providing customer service, right? You're quantifying how much you have, right? Experience and skill set with QuickBooks and Excel, right? So if you're going to have a summary of qualifications, make sure that they're concrete, they speak their language, right? Again, they're tailored to the position you're applying for. Right? Any questions about summary of qualifications? So do you guys need to have summary of qualifications? No, you don't need to have it.
And you get the summary of qualifications also from the job description you're looking at?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this is your chance to reiterate what they're saying so the database will find you?
Yeah. So speaking of database, so what's your name again?
Peter.
Peter. So what Peter is referring to is, this is sad, but it's true. I've talked to employers about this, but sometimes when you send your resume online, a human being doesn't really read it first. What they do is they actually have a scannable, when they'll scan for keywords of the resume, and then it goes forward to a hiring manager or the person who's going to make the decision to interview you or not. So based on that information, it goes back to what I said earlier about 80% of your resume should include the keywords of the job that you're applying for. It's because you never even know the human being reads your resume, right? So they might be fishing for those keywords like QuickBooks. I need to see QuickBooks on your resume, right? So that is essential. Does that make sense? Right? Okay. So let's talk about education, part of your resume. So for education, as you guys can see it here, you start off with your most recent education first. Before I even talk about that, should you have your high school on your resume? Your high school degree? You guys think? Yeah? I don't think you need to put your high school. Here's the reason why. The fact that you're at Oxnard College supersedes that. So the fact that you're at Oxnard College, as an employer, I already assume that you have done high school already. So you're actually wasting the one page that you only have for your resume. So I wouldn't put high school, not to dismiss what you did in high school, but I would just put Oxnard College and not put high school, right? So here's an example. So you basically, Oxnard College, and then you put down when you're planning to finish Oxnard College. So notice I said May 2018. So you don't have to put when you started, but just put when you're going to finish Oxnard College. So you don't have to say May 2015 to present, just say when you're going to complete your degree at Oxnard College, right? So you write out a degree, so like Associates of Science in Accounting, right? Or it could be Associates of Arts in Natural Science and Math, Associates of Arts in Social Behavioral Science, right? So you put the AA degree that you will be getting. Questions about that so far? What if you don't have an AA degree? Or sorry, what if you're not going to get an AA degree when you leave it? What should you put down? Oh yeah, if you're gonna get a certificate, put that instead. So you would say certificate in accounting instead of associates in science. But what if you're gonna transfer and not get an AA degree? So in that case, I recommend to put your major. So you could put, anthropology major, right? And then you could also put go, transfer to Cal State University Channel Islands, fall 2019, right? You could also put coursework if they're relevant to the job that you're applying for.
Okay, so if I'm a junior in high school and I'm doing college at the same time, would I put my high school graduation in addition to my college graduation date from here?
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're coming to Oxford at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would put, in your situation, I would put both, because it stands out, the fact that you're both, you're going to college and high school at the same time. Okay. So I think it stands out. So I would put Oxford College first, and then I would put your high school.
Okay,
And I would put the grad date for both.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's, it could be June 2018 for high school, and then for Oxford College.
Should we put GPA?
Oh, that's a good question. Should you put GPA? What do you guys think? Depends on what? Depends what GPA you have. So, yeah. So you should definitely put your GPA if you feel like it speaks well to you, right? So what number do you guys think that is?
4.
4. Wow, jeez.
3.0?
Yeah, 3.0 or higher is generally the suggestion. 3.0 or higher. When I worked at Cal Poly Slow, I had students put their major GPA because it was higher than their general education GPA. So there's different things you can put. I've seen students put their GPA for the last 60 units versus, so there's different things that you can put down for GPA. What to say? Yeah, any questions about GPA?
Should we leave it at the 2 digits, or should we extend, is it okay if we extend it?
I know what you're asking. I would keep it at 2 digit. Yeah, I would round it. I would round it up versus down. Yeah. You could also put down dean's list, honors list. So if you're dean's list, honors list, I would include that as well.
Even if it was in the past, or currently on the dean list?
It could also be in the past. Yeah, so let's say you've been on the dean's list 2 semesters. You could say that, dean's list / 2 semesters. Any other questions about education?
We don't have to put the date for the dean's list?
No,
Just mention.
How far back should you include your education?
How far back should you include your education? Specifically, are you saying like you've been to multiple colleges and should you put the other colleges, or do you?
Yes, and all of your license and certifications.
And your high school?
License and
License.
certifications?
Yeah.
How far back should you go in your resume?
Yeah. That's a really good question. Well, to answer yours specifically, I feel like you should put the education that you will complete the degree. So, for instance, let's say you started at Oxford at 88, and then you're starting back again 20 years later. Let's just say that. You don't need to put 88 to 2017. You could just put, May 2017 as your expected graduation date. So you're not giving anything away with dates based on that. If that helps. If you attended Cerritos College 10 years ago, but you didn't complete a degree at Cerritos College, you just took some classes at Cerritos College, I would say you don't have to put that on your resume. It doesn't really do anything in your case, to put Cerritos College on your, if you took a few general education classes there for a semester, right? If you completed an Associates of Arts degree at Cerritos College, though, I would say, Cerritos College Associates of Arts in Liberal Science, May 2005. I would put the date for that. Does that make sense for that? And then for your license and certification, I would have it as a separate header. So I wouldn't really have it under education. I would have it as another header, especially if your license and certification is pertaining to the job you're applying for. So another header meaning, I would have another header after that that says license / certification, and then I would do Or you can have a subheader. You know how there's coursework here? Instead of saying coursework, say licensure / certification, and then bullet your license. whatever that is. May I ask an example of your license? Or you can talk about that individually. So does that make sense? Any other questions about education? So here's a couple of examples I wanted to show you, but I think you guys, it looks very similar to what we just looked at. You could put your goal, I mean, if you're getting a degree in natural sciences, you can say your goal is to get a bachelor's in biology, right? Because a lot of folks read associate's arts degree in natural science, they're like, okay, that's it, you're gonna stop there? I don't want to say that's it, because I think it's not easy to get an A degree. But the person reading it might be, well, are you going to get a bachelor's degree? So if you put your goal down there, you're letting them know, right? My ultimate goal, though, is a bachelor's in biology. So notice the paralegal studies, how we put down relevant coursework, right? You know, I forgot to mention this. You notice that I bolded Oxnard College. It's good to bold parts of your resume, right? So you notice for your example how I bolded Oxnard College. Either bold the college that you went to or the degree. Try to bold one or the other. It makes your resume look nicer and easier to read. Okay, so resume experience here. So this is the heart of the resume. So number one and most importantly, under your work experience, make sure it's consistent. So if you look at the example I have in front of you, notice how it's consistent, meaning it's easy to read in my opinion because it's consistent. The job title are all what color? Are all what? They're all bolded, right? So cashier, volunteer tax preparer, job title. It should say a job title, but you know what I mean? Like it's all consistent. So your job title, comma, who you work for, city, state. See how it's similar for all three of them? So number one, you want to be consistent in the way you lay out your experience, right? I've seen enough resumes where you're not consistent, it actually makes it really hard for a person to read. So make sure it's consistent. Notice how I put the dates kind of justified to the right. So you want to make sure you do that. All right, you want to put the dates for that. Did you guys get action verbs from me? Did you guys all get a paper that has action verbs? You should get one. Right. So here's a little trick for you guys. Like when you're describing your experience, use an action verb as your first word no matter what. Don't just list your responsibilities, but start off with an action verb to explain your jobs. All right? Does that make sense? So use an action verb to explain your jobs. So choose the ones that are most important to your experience. So it sounds better when you start off with the word addressed, right? It sounds better when you start off with the word administered, right? Versus saying, you know, computed records, right? That doesn't sound very exciting, but use an action verb to explain your experience, right? You really want to talk about accomplishments rather than duties. What does that mean? When I say when you think about your job, talk about it in accomplishments rather than duties. Well, what does that mean? What do you guys think that means?
You can think of a lesson like you have to do it rather than you cheat.
Say it again.
Make it so it's like you didn't have to do it. It was more like you achieved something.
Yeah, this is the hardest part of your resume. You know, as a career counselor in the past, I would sit down with students and I would ask them about their job, and then I think you guys would be amazed at how much you accomplish in your job, but you don't think of it in that term. Like, so instead of saying, you know, I wash dishes and talk with customers, instead say, you know, communicate and build rapport with customers while maintaining efficiency. See how that sounds a little better? Than saying, you know, I cut onions and talk to customers. So it's really important that you describe your experiences, thinking about accomplishments, thinking about the impact that you made in your job. And it's the hard part of writing your resume. And here's my trick in terms of what helps me when I write bullets for my resume, even for my job, is I read job descriptions of people who do my job. I read job descriptions of people who do my job because I can never think of languaging as good as an HR person or a professionals could think about my job, right? So I would go on Indeed. Have you guys heard about Indeed? It's the most widely used job search site in the world. Like you can put in any job title and read a job description of your job. And I promise you that that's going to give you ideas that it's hard for you to top of your head, right? So I would use Indeed. I would use the ONET. I'm going to pull it up. Where's my, let me just do it. Because I think honestly, guys, this is the part that takes long to write your resume. This is why somebody can spend the whole day writing their resume, is how do I describe my experience in a way that is impactful? So here's something else you can do. Google ONET. So ONET. You Google ONET. ONET is the first thing that will come up. So what's a job that someone's done in the past? You can name it out there. What's a job that someone's done? Does someone want to say a job?
Yeah.
Restaurant server? Restaurant server, okay. So let's type in restaurant server. So this is the point I'm trying to make. So they call it waiters and waitresses. So if you click on that, ONET, what ONET does, it actually gives you, notice that? It gives you some ideas for your resume, right? Check with customers to ensure that they are enjoying their meals and take action to correct any problems. Doesn't that sound great? It sounds a lot better than what I could come up with a server. Wow, yeah, I correct problems and I check with customers to ensure they're enjoying their meals, right? Just so how even this website gives you some ideas. Because it's hard for us to come up with things, right? So I wanted to show you this because you can type in any job actually and it'll give you some ideas, right? So, yeah, you Google ONET, you get there. So, here's the note that I want to make is what happens if your job title doesn't really do a good job of describing what you actually did, right? Your job title can be student worker 2, what does that mean? So you could always talk to your manager about using a job title that's most suiting to market yourself in the resume, right? So it's not like you have to put the job title that you're officially hired in. You can use the one that really describes you well. And that involves talking with your employer to make sure that you can use it. Okay. So it said, focus on accomplishments, not routine duties when you describe your work experience. Use action verbs, so important. Oh, I should have mentioned this. If you can quantify anything in your job experience, do it. If you help, help expand the consumer market by 25%. That sounds really good, right? So if you can quantify anything on your resume, do it. So quantify. If you use statements such as fastest, largest, things that really stand out about what you did, that's really good. Even awards, like if you earn an award in your job, like recognized for outstanding customer service award, put that on your resume. You could also write one long one on your first draft and edit it later. So you could just write in all the words that you did and edit it later. Questions, guys? Comments? I said, I already talked about this. You want to look at it from a management point of view, right? How are you affecting the bottom line in the job that you're doing? You don't think about that, but how am I making this business better by me being there, right? Think about how your task that you do in your job fits to the larger company's goals. So how does a server impact a company's goals, for instance? There's obvious answers there. I guess I'm asking a rhetorical question, but the obvious answer is suggestive selling, right? You can upsell items. Customers come back because they had a good experience. So think about it from the perspective of the company's bottom line. Here's an example of one that's not really good, right? It's hard to read. You're saying you're a laborer and you're just writing down your task. That doesn't do much of any good, right? But here's another example. Instead of doing that, notice how you put your job title, who you work for, city, state, the date, and you use action verbs, right? So coordinated with a crew of 4 to build homes. See how you just quantified something there, right? You use that action verb. Rapidly adapted to changing work orders, right? Maintain tools worth over $1,000. So even think about how much money, how much it costs for the items that you use is good, right? Think about the things that you learn, right? The things that you begin training with. So notice how that does a good job of explaining an example of the experience. All right. I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, so let's keep going here. You could also have a section. Do I have it here? I don't have it here. Okay. You could also include any of your campus involvement, leadership, volunteer. So you could include that too. So things that you do outside of your working experience. Maybe you volunteer for a homeless shelter. Maybe you're part of a soccer league. Anything that talks about your extracurricular activities, you could also include that on your resume. You could also put down any awards that you won. So you could have an award section. So if you're first place in a project, if you're first place, in a tournament, any kind of awards are really good. The other part that I see a lot, especially when I was at Cal Poly as a career counselor, I noticed a lot of students put computer skills. So obviously we're living in an age where computer skills is so critical. So if you feel like that's a section you want to put, and you can put down the key computer skills you have, like PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Access, any computer skills you have, you could also put a section for computer skills. Language skills is really important. So if you know another language, you can put computer/language skills. That stands out as well. References. So you don't need to put references on your resume. You don't even need to say references are available upon request. Like you don't need to say that at all. It's not needed for you to have that. However, I think I gave you an example of an additional page you can include in your resume with references, right? I think I included, that should be there. Right, guys? Did I give you one? So you could put another reference page example. You could include a separate page in your resume with references, right? But it's not something you need to say at all on your resume. It's assumed that you have references, so you don't need to say references upon.
This goes back to like the same question that she had about, if you were to volunteer like in first grade, would you write that down? How far back would you kind of go to, you still have the skills or?
Yeah. So like if you volunteered in the first grade like 10 years ago, and that's
like how far back would you would it be okay to write down your resume?
Yeah, that's hard to answer. I think it depends on the whole picture of how I see your resume, so I don't want to give an absolute. If you feel like this position, it's really important that it shows that you have some experience working with kids, because it's important for the job that you're applying for, I would put it no matter what. You know what I mean? If it's the only thing you have. But if it's like you have lots of experience showing that you work with kids, and that one is really not very necessary because you already established that, then I wouldn't necessarily need to put it, because you already established that. But what I've heard is like you could go as far back as you need to go as far back as 10 years at the most, but you don't have to go farther than that. In terms of need, like you don't have to go farther than 10 years. Does that answer your question? Wow, so much here, guys. Wow, it's a lot to discuss. Okay, I'll talk. There's different types of resumes. There's chronological, functional, and combination. I'll say this. Okay, well, let me explain what it is. A chronological resume is like a reverse chronological of all your job experiences in reverse chronological order. A functional resume is more about your skill set, and a combination resume, which I suggest more, is a combination of both. But the ideal resume to do, though, is chronological and maybe combination. Try to stay away from a functional resume, and I think there's some examples in the next couple of slides about that. How long should your resume be?
One page.
1 page, yeah, keep your resume to 1 page. Any questions about that? And this is very general. If you're sitting down in the audience and you're a professional in the field and you've been there for a while, then 2 pages or even 3 pages are okay. But unless you're in that position, you should keep your resume to a page. Fonts and margin considerations. So your fonts should be what size again, guys? 10 to 12 font size. And your margins should be 0.5 at the most. That top bottom left and right should be 0.5. Because it's naturally at 1. The farthest I would go is 0.5 for top, bottom, left, and right. Selective bolding is really important. So selectively bold your information, but be consistent with it. No errors. Have someone proofread your resume. Worst thing you could do is make an error in your resume, like a typo. Right? Don't do that. Yeah, what can you go into this? I recommend the chronological resume the most ideally because it shows that you have job experiences that are most relevant to the job. And so that makes the most sense. So for instance, I'll just use myself as an example. If I'm applying to be a community college counselor, I should definitely use a chronological resume. But let's say I'm applying to be a marketing manager. Then I might do a functional resume because what I would emphasize is more of my skills that I have as a community college counselor and pull that out and say, communications. And I'll do bullets to talk about my communication skills. Because if I just did a chronological format of my resume, it's not as compelling to a marketing position as it would be to a community college job, right? So that's the advantage of a functional resume is it's more of a skill-based resume. But I don't want to go too much into it. Ask me if you have any questions about that. If you feel like you should use a functional resume, I would assume most people in this room are going to use a chronological format.
But if you have a job gap, is that kind of a better strategy? That way they don't see you got a job gap. We have to have job gaps.
So if you have job gaps, it might be better to do the functional resume. Because if you do a chronological resume, they might see all the gaps. Like if you haven't worked for 5 years and then you start working again and there's another gap, you may not look good professionally. So it might be good to do the functional one instead because it emphasizes more the skills than your work history. But if your job gap is, you're in school though, that might be different though. So.
Well, they may say, how do you figure out what you're doing these days? We had these things last couple of years. Obviously, the school could easily be a discussion point. And any other volunteering it could be very serious.
I think they talked about this already. Last thing, guys, be proud of your accomplishments. You guys are here at Oxnard. You guys have work experience. You guys are here. Your education, things you've done. Be proud of them. Make sure you show them off. As well. I know we have 5 minutes. I'm going to answer any questions. I want to say that my name is Eric Chow. If you'd like to, I'm happy. If you make an appointment with me at the counseling center, I'm happy to go over your resume one-on-one. If that helps you at all. So you can come by the counseling center, make an appointment with me or any counselor here, and we're happy to look at your resume individually, which I would highly recommend. Have somebody who doesn't know you look at your resume and see what they think about you, right? Because you'd rather hear from someone here than submit resumes and not really know what's my impression out there. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of me or any counselor here for a resume review. Are there any questions before we dismiss? I want you to know I see cookies and water and coffee there, so that's for you guys. So take advantage of that. Any questions before we disperse?
Where's the Career Center at?
It's new, so it's where counseling is.
Okay.
So you know how when you go to counseling, you make a left. Instead of making a left, you make a right, and it's like one of the first doors to the left. But it's so new that we don't even really have a physical career center.
Okay.
Yeah. But are you looking for something in particular?
No, a guy, what do you name? Marcelo?
Marcelo's a career counselor.
Okay, he came by our class and said that if we help Brian one to go by there.
Okay. Yeah, or stop by and see me too, or get them started based on what I talked about.
Okay.
Guys, I want to say one more thing before, and I think I had it, or I think I forgot to bring it. So you guys know we have a job fair? We have a job fair. So please come to that. Did you guys get an email of all the employers who are coming?
Yes.
Yeah, so make sure you come to that.
The 19th.
Come back and bring your resume. Bring your resume. Be ready to talk about yourself in 30 seconds. Right?
I can do it.
Right? You should, just have something to say about yourself, or be ready to talk about why you're interested in the company. That's an icebreaker.
Is this the best template to use for a resume?
Oh, I want to show you guys something. One last thing, because that leads me to what I wanted to show you. I think what I recommend is you Google CSUCI, Career Center. So Cal State University Channel Islands Career Center. Click on them. Here's something really cool. And if you click on resume resources under students, they have an amazing resume handbook. Click on that. And they go over all the things, a lot of things that we just discussed right now, like resumes, do's and don'ts, but they have so many examples. They're pretty amazing. They have so many, they have examples by majors. This is the functional resume we're talking about. But they have so many, I don't know, I was excited when I saw this. They even talk about CVs, don't worry about CVs yet. But there's so many. Where is it? I'm embarrassed. I'm pumping this up and I can't find any examples. I saw it earlier. This is another. Oh, here's all the resume examples. See that? So you can see different resume examples here. And you can click on them and you can start seeing how some of them look like. See that? So I think these are good templates to work off of.
What site is that?
Cal State University Channel Islands Career Center. So if you Google CSUCI's career services, they have a good resume guide that I would definitely take advantage of. Yeah, guys, any other questions? No? All right. Thank you. Did everybody sign in?
Do you have a list of the different companies that's coming here for the job fair?
I do. If they email it out to you. So you didn't get the email? I have it with me. I'll give it to you. I have it with me.
Okay.
I'll make sure I get it.
So that way you know what to apply for.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll get it for you.